Again, it's all about having one foot in today and one foot in tomorrow. So let's talk about the core business. We are going to continue to focus on investing in designing, manufacturing, marketing, and developing terrific cars, trucks, and SUVs. We love our core business. And also at the same time, electrified vehicles. Now, in the emerging opportunities, we are very aggressively executing our Ford Smart Mobility Plan, which is our plan to take Ford to the next level in connectivity, in mobility, in autonomous vehicles, as well as the customer experience and using data and analytics. As I mentioned earlier, since January, we've launched about 30 experiments on mobility. And since then, some continue, but also probably more than half have concluded. Some have morphed into pilots. And I think during the day today, you've heard some updates on some of those, including our progress on Dynamic Shuttle and also our OpenXC platform. Plus, importantly, we always say we're going to learn from these experiments. And we're really applying those learnings as we continue to hone in on two key areas for the company: flexible use and ownership and multimodal urban mobility solutions. And this summer, we launched two new Ford Smart Mobility pilots, not experiments, but pilots. And the first one was with Ford Motor Credit, and they paired up with a company called GetAround here in the US and Easy Car Club in London for peer-to-peer car sharing. And essentially, this allowed customers to rent their Ford Credit Finance vehicles to pre-screened clients. We also kicked off what's known as Go Drive, which is our on-demand car sharing pilot in London. And essentially, this is a pay-as-you-go system. You can do one-way trips, and there's guaranteed parking on the other end. And for those of you that have been in London, guaranteed parking, that is a big deal and a big benefit. So we've done these pilots. What have we learned? Well, we've learned some really interesting things. First off, millennials are most interested in renting their vehicles. And those vehicles were generally at least 2 years old. So not the brand new ones, about 2 years old. Also, more people were willing to rent somebody else's vehicle than wanting to share their own. And those that did actually rent their vehicles did so about once per week. Now, interestingly, customers who didn't want to make their vehicle available cited a couple of things, a couple of inhibitors. They cited insurance, they were afraid about potential damage, and whether the car would be returned clean. But they also mentioned a few other concerns around dealing with strangers and also one-time returns. But we also learned that car sharing programs around the world brought different results. And this was fascinating. So, if you look at it, our Go Drive program, our car shared pilot in the UK, what did it teach us? Well, electric vehicles are the most popular with the 30 to 40-year-old age range, and they're the most likely to choose an electric vehicle over a gas-powered, if they're given a choice. And once someone has tried an electric vehicle, well, about 97% would say they would try it again. We also now better understand some of the confusion or concerns about EVs, including people unsure how to drive them, the whole issue around range anxiety and charge point locations, and also how car clubs and also car sharing can play a really important role in getting rid of these inhibitions for folks. Now, switch to India. Our findings were very different in India, where we conducted a car sharing experiment this year that allowed small groups to share a vehicle. So what did we learn? Well, first, in India, outright car ownership is still the preferred option, and it's a very aspirational goal in India, right? Because when you buy a car in India, that says you have made it. Now, urban centers in India, when people are driving around, we learned that during the weekday, a lot of people like to get chauffeured. But on the weekend, they like to drive themselves. Because at the end of the day, they want to do that on the weekends as they're, recreational areas with their family or friends or whatever. And it's these kind of learnings, and again, combined with those megatrends, those societal megatrends that we're seeing, that are helping us to really guide how we make our big bets, including key investments and some important news. So today, we're announcing that by 2020, we're investing an additional $4.5 billion, which is our biggest ever electric vehicle investment in a 5-year period. And as we do that, we're going to be adding 13 new electrified vehicles to our product portfolio by 2020. And when we do that, more than 40% of our nameplates globally will be electrified by the end of the decade, and that's up significantly from a very healthy about 13% today. And what's driving us to do this? Well, first, it's customer needs, first and foremost. And it's followed by regulation, getting back to what I mentioned earlier. And we're really building on our Ford Power of Choice strategy. And as you know, that's offering a wide range of products that meet the driving needs while improving fuel economy for folks, but also reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And this Power of Choice strategy includes everything from fuel-efficient EcoBoost engines, to diesels, to hybrids, to plug-in hybrids, and of course, full battery electric vehicles. And today's news really builds on our leadership in electrification. Ford is America's second largest electrified vehicle seller. And we are actually the nation's top seller of plug-in hybrids. And if you look at this since 2011 and the introduction of our latest generation of electrified vehicles, Ford has grown our electric vehicle sales more than any other major automaker. And in 2013 and 2014, we've been closing that gap with Toyota. And globally, we're really excited because we're expanding our offerings in a number of different markets. So a couple of examples. Taiwan and Korea, where we offer the Mondeo hybrid today. And importantly, in China, we announced this a few months back, we're bringing the C-Max Energy plug-in hybrid and the Mondeo hybrid to that market next year. So we're really looking forward to that. And here's another piece of news today. We're also introducing the Focus Electric with DC fast charging capability and greater range. And it creates an even better customer experience. So with that regard, you'll be able to get 80% charge in an estimated 30 minutes and a projected 100-mile driving range. So improving the customer experience, as I mentioned a little earlier, is something that we're taking very, very seriously. And it's bigger than just electrified vehicles. As I mentioned earlier, this is influencing every part of our business, from our core business with cars, SUVs, and utilities and trucks, to emerging opportunities through our Ford Smart Mobility plan. And in fact, I would term it as we're actually rewiring how we do product development with a focus on the customer experience versus the traditional focus on the vehicle and the technology. And we're really being aided by experts inside the company, but also new partners on the outside to help us with this. And our work has included studying others and how have they made this transition from just focusing on the hardware to focusing on that experience that the customer has. So we learned a few things from some companies that have gone through this. Lego, right? We all either played with Lego, our kids have Lego, we've stepped on Legos, all that kind of stuff, right? Well, the team there a number of years back was asked, how can they increase sales of their Lego blocks? So they were working through all that, making some progress, but not what they expected. But when they started asking the question, why do kids play? And they internalized that, the growth at Lego really took off. Now, another example on the opposite end of the spectrum, Intel, right? IT company. And instead of focusing on how to provide chips with, the fastest processing power and kind of duking it out with all the other chip makers on that one criteria, Intel started asking the question, what do people really want? What do they really want to do with their computers? And from that, they started developing technology very differently. And they started delivering chips that actually enabled the experiences that people really wanted, from streaming to high-intensity gaming to a whole host of other things. And for us at Ford, instead of asking, how do we sell more vehicles? It's really about asking, how do people want to move today and going forward? And then create those customer experiences, and not just the products and technologies. We want our engineers, our marketers, everyone thinking about what experiences do we want to create, and then what is the hardware, what is the technologies, what is the software that then deliver that for the customer.